All right, we're live.
All right, perfect.
Sync up all platforms here.
So, guys, before we start, while people are coming in, we're getting live on all platforms. If you just watch this back on anything like YouTube or Twitter or whatnot, we actually today put out a guide, 6 pages. It's pretty in depth, and it's got to do with the takeaways that we had when we went to Accelerate, which is Pattern. If you don't know them, they're the largest Amazon seller in the world, and it was their tips, tricks, strategies, things like that that we compiled from speaking with them over the course of 3 days at the event. So if you want to check that out and you want us to send you that for absolutely free, head over to our Twitter and you can reply pattern and we'll send it over to you. So helping to scale and grow our business as much as it would help, scale your business. Learning from someone that knows more than you is always beneficial. So we did the dirty work of going to the event, and we just have some takeaways and want to send those over to you. So check that out on Twitter at Operation Amazon.
Cool. A couple of people rolling in here. We'll fire it up in just a second.
And we're going to be taking a look at Smart Scout today and sourcing and how we find the brands that we sell on Amazon, the criteria, and we'll see if we can find some profitable brands. And hopefully, you guys can copy the methods that we're using or storefront stock, same thing, same criteria to find profitable products, add to your store one at a time.
Yeah. I was thinking on this episode. I know we did a lot of sourcing on the last couple of episodes. I want to dive into some value stuff with outreach. Really hit them with the good stuff. Because that's what everybody's asking about.
Yeah, outreach is big, and it's something that not a lot of people are comfortable with. And part of that is just because they're not knowing what value to provide and everything. So definitely a good thing to go into. Okay, Instagram is up. We're good on there as well.
Yeah. Well, this will play back on YouTube. So we might as well get the ball rolling here. I got Smart Scout on my screen. I'm going to jump into a screen share here.
They have your screens up.
We're good.
Good to go.
Perfect. Yep. So nothing new here. We all know wholesale is repetition. Smart Scout, generally looking at filter criteria. We target small to mid-sized brands. We're talking 20,000 in monthly revenue to 250,000 monthly revenue and upwards. So we're setting our monthly revenue parameters here. We're going for a minimum average selling price of $10. That is not necessarily hard and steadfast. We might go below $10. There, or sometimes a sweet spot below $10 in terms of profitability. If you sell at $9.99 versus $10, you could actually make more money. But again, these are not hard and steadfast filters. It's just sort of starting us out in a basic search. And then we're looking at the average number of sellers being about 2. And we want average number of FBA sellers to be 2. And the Amazon in stock rate. You could put 0 here. We have 1, just to, if Amazon's on and off the listing. And then we'll go ahead and search. And last time we looked at products in the grocery and gourmet food category. We are product agnostic. So what that means is we don't necessarily focus on one product category or another. It is absolutely irrelevant the kinds of products we sell. As long as we're making money on them, we can grow the relationship and make it profitable for both our business and the brand. So when we scroll here through Smart Scout, generally what we're looking for, this is going to filter you out by top line or the top monthly revenue down lower, So we're just scrolling here, and what we're looking for is, I like to look at this average number of seller column because it gives me a good idea of what the competition looks like. And then from there, we can open up the listing and get a better idea of what we're looking at. So I'm just going to do a little bit of scrolling here. Brandon, if you see anything popping out at you,
Absolutely. And I just want to mention as well for anyone watching, if you have any comments or questions or anything that are related to sourcing or just Amazon stuff in general, just drop those in the chat, and we'd be happy to answer any sort of questions that you have. It doesn't have to be specifically about what you're doing, but if there's something that you want to know about Amazon, just let us know, and we'll get to it in this live as well.
Absolutely. So let's see here.
I was going to say, what was that? Scrolling up a little bit. I don't know if that's a big brand. Keep going up. That All Day Locks, is that a large brand? Do I just not know them?
All Day Locks. Let's check them out. Okay. I got my thing popping up here. So this will be the first thing that we'll do, is we'll look at first DS Amazon Quick View, which is the Scout, or the extension that you saw there, or Jungle Scout we also have up and running. And we'll just, look at kind of a preliminary view of the listing. Then we'll quickly look on it. And the first thing that I'm noticing, I'm sure Brent's noticing the same thing, is that the brand is selling this product. So a quick question is that, do we target products where the brand is on them? And in what case would we target products if the brand is on them?
Yeah, I mean, right here, the brand, from what I can see, looks like the only FBA seller. Is that correct?
Looks like there was one other one here.
Okay, so generally speaking, if the brand is staying competitive at a price that other third-party sellers, namely yourself, might be able to compete at, then they're just another seller in the buy box. But in reality, most of the time, if they're selling like this, they have an optimized listing, they have a store, they know what they're doing. They're just pocketing the money of these other resellers, and they're maintaining control of the buy box just because they have a lower production price, obviously. So, it's case by case, but in this scenario, I don't know about you. I personally, this would be a pass for me, because we've got a completely optimized listing. We've got a brand store. We've got all the pictures. We've got keywords from what I saw. And we've got the brand selling on the listing. And we could obviously check Keepa to see what the buy box statistics are on that. If you want to do that, go under the data tab maybe, and we'll see if we've got buy box statistics. Yeah, so it's 100% of the buy box stats over the last 365 days. So
there's nothing there.
There's nothing. And so that takes it from guesswork of saying, is this a possibility, to an absolute no for me.
Yeah, this is a no.
That's a no for me, dog. Was that
if this listing was atrocious and had no images, the bullet points weren't optimized, they had no A+ content, then we might look at pitching them, because we have some value to provide, right? But when the brand is selling it directly, the listing looks phenomenal, with the exception of maybe a couple competitors running ads on their listing, but sometimes that's just unavoidable. The listing looks phenomenal. There's nothing we can do here. We can't strategically position our company in any way, shape, or form where it's going to provide them with value, right? They have no reason to work with us, so we quickly move on, right? And generally speaking, I know we spent probably 5 minutes on that, but as you do this over and over again, that is a split-second decision.
Right.
So I saw another brand here that I was looking at, and I like the health and household category. This encompasses so many different products, and it's a huge category. So if you can get like a really well-selling product in that category, you can make a lot of money. Like if we're looking at this particular item here, I just saw health and household, and I see, 9 sellers on it. It's above our ASP threshold. It's doing $250,000 a month. Like, you're moving 16,000 units. So let's just, check it out, see what's going on here. Okay. So
This is that the third listing? Is that a different product?
well, I think these are brands by Torbit. See, it says Torbit in the title.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at that third listing right there with the horrible picture, and I'm thinking that that's an opportunity in itself without even looking at anything else.
Yeah, I'm frozen here, so give it a second. But we're looking here at a preliminary view of the listings. This one is 600 plus bought. This one's 1,000 plus bought. And this one has a rank of 3,800 in health and household. So like that's huge. And yeah, I'm going to jump back to that listing you said here. But even this listing,
too. Yeah.
Like terrible images. It's got 3 images on here.
Yeah, and we've also, something to keep in mind here is, that might be a product number or something in that, whatever that long string is, but I would say less than 1% of consumers are looking the product up based on that. So it's a waste of space in the title.
It's got 1 bullet point.
Right. So this is a listing that's selling, what was this, 3,400 something ranking?
So you got Amazon on it. And this is actually a good point, right? Because Amazon is not competitive on the listing.
Right.
So this is something that we would sell on, even because I'm seeing over the course of time on Keepa, Amazon was never competitive. Third-party FBAs were getting the buy box, and that's why we don't rule out listings that have Amazon on them.
Absolutely.
Right? Because if you ended up, let's say, getting an exclusive down the line, Amazon's probably buying from, I know I'm jumping a few steps ahead here, but Amazon's probably buying from a distributor, right? If they're, I've seen before if they're priced way higher, and this is, they're a little bit higher, but I've seen before where they're buying, through distribution, Amazon, and the brand doesn't even know how Amazon's getting it.
Yeah.
So that could be a potential value add. And then, there's multiple third-party sellers selling the product.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this has all the criteria of a listing that makes sense to contact the brand. I mean, the rank is amazing. The listing is not amazing. They've got issues that you could add value to. I mean, this is almost 5,000 ratings. There's no brand store because you can tell based on the fact that it just says brand. So, I mean, let's click on that, for example, and we'll see it might redirect to some competitor products. It might redirect to their products. Let's take a look. So it looks like the first couple ones are theirs from what I can see.
Looks like it's all theirs. But they would still benefit from a brand store because it's more cohesion on Amazon.
That's actually more of a rare case, I feel like, having this scenario in which it's redirecting to their products. Usually, competitors are running ads, things like that, where it's redirecting to them. But yeah, I mean, there's never any harm in a brand store because at bare minimum, it allows you to have a more cohesive presence and allows you to shop the same products, from the brand in a much more organized space, and everyone benefits from that. This is crazy. I'm looking at this title is driving me nuts. I'm like,
it's, this hits every mark for me.
Everything.
I'm looking at the images. There's no lifestyles. It's the same image, or basically the same image twice here. It's got this mess in the title, as you mentioned. It's got 1 bullet point. It's got multiple third-party sellers.
No A+ content, right?
No A+ content. They got a competitor running what's called a display advertisement right next to the buy box. And it's done strategically, right? This ad comes up because this brand knows that, Torbit adhesive is selling really well. So they're strategically putting keywords in their ad campaign that are associated with this brand in order to display on their page. So what you pitch to the brand is you say there's a competitor, or there's multiple competitors for that matter, running display advertisements on your listing in an effort to capitalize on the brand equity that you guys have built, and it's actually redirecting customers away from your product. So you could potentially position this brand to garner incremental sales by placing an advertisement for another one of their products, which we saw a number of their products already on Amazon. You could position one of their other products in this slot, right, which drives incremental business to them, increases their sales, and protects their brand from, the pollution that's happening with these different competitors. And they're running ads because you see it here. They have this is what Amazon's recommendation is, and you have sponsored products here. And again, there might be a couple of third-party resellers that are trying to sponsor their way, but it's like, look at this product description. There's no A+ content there, right? And so this is definitely one that I would contact.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hits every mark. And so, I mean, you get 10 of these in your arsenal and you close one of them. I mean, obviously we don't have a price list on something like this, but even if it's the normal profitability of a wholesale item, I mean, the volume that it's doing is just next level volume, and that's only one of their products. So, if you reach out and you find multiple products, multiple SKUs, I mean, we saw that are doing another 600 units, et cetera. So,
yep. And the other thing I wanted to mention is because, right, somebody might be watching and saying, what is A+ content? What does an optimized listing looks like? And I just popped another one up here, right? When we talk about optimization, we're not just talking about from an aesthetics perspective. We're talking about, does it tap into SEO algorithms, the things that Amazon wants to see, so that they're going to boost the visibility of the products and the brand. And this was a good example of a pretty well optimized listing. Their title is packed with keywords. They have really good images, showing comparisons with other products, infographics, videos, all things that are going to, get the customer to make a purchase and increase those conversion rates. And then A+ content is down here in the product description. So compare this with this, right? There's one sentence here in the product description versus this, right? Which captures the customer more, right? And this is
not hard to do. Like,
no,
this is not difficult stuff. It's just the fact that most brand owners, it's not their job. It's not their niche. They don't understand Amazon. And so it's your job to be able to do these things, but they're not hard. You can outsource something like this, creating A+ content, or you can, even if you have, I wouldn't say minimal, at least good enough skills on a program like Canva. I've made listing pictures myself. You can do all this stuff, and it's not difficult, but the rewards and the benefits huge for the brand.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to necessarily be an expert in all of these things. You just got to be able to sell it to the brand.
Right.
And if you can sell it and close the account by selling it, you figure the rest out, right? There's nothing wrong with, if you don't have an in-house team yet, hiring people on Fiverr, or like Brandon said, just popping up a YouTube video, learning Canva a little bit. Like, these things are not hard, and they're going to position you as being different from the thousands of other Amazon resellers that are out there.
Why don't we hop into another brand of sorts, and then, like I mentioned, if there's any sort of comments or questions or anything relating to anything Amazon, feel free to drop those in the chat, and we will answer those for you guys as well while we're on this live.
And just so everybody knows, like, the next step for us here would be, we've identified a brand that we're interested in. We would now search Google Torbit adhesive. We would go to the website, find the phone number and the email address, and we'd paste it in, a basic spreadsheet like this. And when you make the call, you would have the ASIN or the product listing up on your screen, so that you have reference points to go off of when you're articulating all of this to the brand.
So Ryan on YouTube asked, can you do A+ content for any brand, or do you have to have their permission?
It's a great question. You want to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, when it comes to permission, obviously, like, you want them to know you're doing it. You want to reap the benefits of that. You don't want to really just do it and then not tell them. But I assume you mean, like, do you need authorization and A+ content? So, like, listing pictures and things like that can be uploaded, and you can do that without any sort of brand registry or anything. When it comes to A+ content and everything, the brand has to have a brand registry to get that enhanced brand content and all that stuff. And then at that point, you have the authorization from the brand to either be on their brand registry account, or to send them the content to have them upload it. And that's pretty much the criteria. So A+ content, enhanced brand content requires brand registry.
Yeah, and one thing is with brand registry is that the way Amazon works in determining who is going to make changes to a listing, right? When you have multiple resellers that are selling a listing, Amazon identifies as all those resellers basically on a hierarchical structure. And if you're just a reseller on the listing, they rate you basically. This is all in Amazon's backend that I learned on like a hour and a half call with an Amazon rep. They rank you basically on what level of status you have. So you're at like a 20 or something, or a 20 or 30, and it's called a contribution score. And that's your level of contributions to the listing. So if your weighted contribution is equal to all the other resellers that are selling the product, Amazon's probably not going to accept the changes that you're making. And they do that for good reason, because they don't want listings changing overnight, right? You see sometimes like crazy things happening in the title or the bullet points or the images, and that's what Amazon's trying to avoid with this. So what bumps you up on the contribution score is when you have some sort of brand registry rights. So like if, for instance, the brand has brand registry already, and they appoint you as either the administrator or the registered agent of the brand, you've instantly been boosted in contribution score from like a 20 or a 30 to a 150. So now your changes are going to get accepted because you've been identified on Amazon's back end as, authorized from the brand. So in most cases, you're going to want to try to get that brand registry position, because not only is it going to give you more weight when trying to make changes to the listing, it could actually potentially increase your buy box percentage when you're competing with all these other sellers. But even better, it could position you as, the actual administrator and registered agent on the brand, which could set you up for, exclusivity down the line.
And that's huge. I mean, there's so many gems in that right there. You guys play that back. It's just something that not a lot of people know about. And even down to, today I answered a question about a product that we sell on, because again, every little thing contributes to that contribution score. And so there's also cases in which, you have all these different things and Amazon's still not accepting your changes. And I've always had pretty good luck calling the catalog team and just getting the right person on the phone and basically making your case and saying, this is why this should be like this, because my pictures have better infographics, better, whatever. And so if the rep on the phone is like, oh yeah, that makes sense, a lot of times they'll just put it through as well. And so I just want to address the other question here. Sorry, I mean to.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say one thing on that. We were like, there was a point in time where we were banging our heads against the wall trying to upload information to the listings, but it wasn't until we started calling Amazon and speaking with their catalog team that the changes just started going through. So like, it's a pain in the ass. And if you have a team that'll help you do it, that's even better. But when you're just starting out, you probably don't have a team. So just having Amazon call you and immediately you get that incompetent, agent on the phone, the first thing you ask them is speaking, I need to speak with the catalog team. I have some listing issues. And pretty much 9 times out of 10, they're going to transfer you, no problem. They might ask for a brief description on what the problem is. They transfer you. boom, you get in touch with catalog, and then that's who's going to be able to solve your issues.
Which
If,
is a
of
separate
course, you
team.
can't upload it on the back end of Amazon.
Yeah, it's a separate team, and they do take phone calls, which is nice. Some Amazon teams, like trying to think of various teams, but some don't take phone calls at all. So catalog team does, which is nice. And then we've got two other questions. Same person here. I mean, first one is can you guys do a live call with a potential lead for a video? It's something we've talked about. I mean, I think that down the line, I don't know. What do you think?
Like a live call with a brand, you mean?
Yeah, we'd have to look into the legality of that, obviously, and if we can do
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I think we could do it. We could do it in like a clip for sure,
Yeah.
and even obviously we'd have to omit some information in there like company names and such. But I think that would be a great resource for people to reference.
Yeah, definitely. Same person, different question. So, kind of a more of a situation. Says I've been selling a brand for 6 months, and now the brand has allowed Amazon on the listing. Map price is $69, and Amazon is selling below 50. How would you handle? How would you express to the brand to land a wholesale account? Amazon isn't following the map policy, but I am. Why do brands allow Amazon to degrade brand value? I mean, going 1PL. I mean, we're assuming that the brand is selling directly to Amazon through Vendor Central in this situation. 1PL is a nightmare. Like, I always talk to brands, and I use the example of a brand that we dealt with where their costs went up for their product, and you can use this as an example too. Their cost went up for the product, and therefore they had to raise their costs. That Amazon would purchase from them at, and Amazon basically flipped them the bird and was like, "No, we're not going to do it." And so that's highlighting like the lack of control that you relinquish your control when you start dealing with Amazon 1PL and selling Vendor Central. And so that would be for me the main point of contention that I would use to say, hey, if you continue to go down this route, look what they're doing now. They're degrading your brand equity. How do you feel about your price fluctuating from $70 down to 50? In the span of X amount of time. There's a lot of points, a lot of strong points there, and I think that you have a lot of leverage in that situation, more than you might think, because take it from the perspective of what they're doing for the brand, and they don't care about the brand. You do. You have vested interest, and so that's the perspective that I would take it from. I don't know. What do you think, Brad?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some points in there, just some unknown points in that question. I'm not sure if he's buying directly from the brand currently. And if he has more leverage because he's already has a transactional relationship with them. So now it's just about introducing value props. If he's buying through a distributor, I would reach out to the brand and express what's going on here. And if the brand doesn't give you correspondence, or they ignore you, or you just can't reach anybody at the phone, he says he's buying from an authorized supplier. The supplier that you're purchasing from, like if you can't get the brand on the phone and you're buying from a supplier, chances are that supplier has a good standing relationship with the brand already. So if you have a good relationship with the supplier, the distributor, rep at that distributor, you could start to express these issues to them, and they could basically be the liaison to the brand, right? I'm actually in that exact sort of predicament right now.
Yeah.
I'm working on an account right now, and I'm literally corresponding with the distributor because the brand is nowhere to be found. Like, some of these brands just make themselves untouchable, and it's like they already have distribution set up. So don't ignore that existing distribution, especially if maybe they're an overseas company and they have US-based distribution. They've appointed those distributors. So those distributors have, leverage and clout and the ability to correspond back and forth with the brand.
Yeah. Next question here from John says, do you optimize listings for all products you sell, regardless if it is a value add for the brand? No. No, we don't.
You're not going to optimize the one that's just selling like nothing.
Yeah, you got to figure, like, I mean, the way we run our business is we're not a service company. We don't treat it as a service company. So if we were, then we would try and optimize every listing because we're charging for that. We're making our profits and we're doing the listing optimization off of the sale of the product itself. So we're not going to optimize things that don't make sense for us to optimize. And not every brand does. That's the blunt answer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gotta make sense on the bottom line. If it's hitting enough, making up enough of a percentage of your bottom line, then it makes sense.
Right. Next question from Joseph says, what's the best way to get past low-level customer support that gatekeep and don't give any contact information of sales reps or owners? Do you want to speak on this one? I feel like you've had more situations. I mean, we were talking about one the other day that was crazy where you're like doing all these methods to try to get in touch with someone. It's hard. I mean, it's hard. I mean,
Well, I think that the first step is to evaluate the size of the company. If you are trying to contact a massive brand, in principle, you're not probably ever going to get a decision maker or an owner on the phone. You can reach out all day long, provide them with value. You're just, your stuff's getting thrown in an inbox and never getting read, right? But if you've made an assessment, and this is a brand where it's niche enough, small to mid-size, and when we say small to mid-size, we talk about gross revenue across more than, not just Amazon, across all platforms, anywhere between 5 and 15 million, right, would be small to mid-size. We can go below 5 and if we're trying to get, smaller accounts, but you have to make an assessment of the size of the company. And if you've made that assessment and it is a small enough company where you can get a hold of someone, then I would just, keep hammering them with emails or phone calls if it's worth it. Like, I
if
mean,
it's worth it, that's a
it's got to
big
be worth it.
And you can get creative too. I mean, if you can reach out on LinkedIn, if you can just find some creative way to get your foot in the door. I mean, that's really all you need because once you are able to make first contact, then you can, leverage your value and all the things that you know how to do and show them why they should talk to you more. But just to get your foot in the door, sometimes you got to be creative. I mean, we've done some wild things to try and get in touch with, suppliers when they just don't want to talk to you.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Because I use a line that seems to grab people. And I think I'm going to give it here, which is basically, and it depends on the presence, right, of the Amazon listing. It's gotta actually have, some issues with it. Otherwise, like we said earlier on, it doesn't make sense. But I'll basically say, I'll put something so clickbaity in like the subject line of the email where it's like Chinese knockoffs stealing your product, right, on Amazon. And I mean, if somebody's reading that actually cares about their company and they're a US based company, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a reply just from saying, knockoffs running ads or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I've gotten exclusives on that because I've literally had a brand owner reply, right? You remember that one. I had a brand owner reply where it was like, no, they wouldn't respond. And that was all I said was, I just said, there are Chinese knockoffs, stealing your brand equity. And a week later, we signed an exclusive agreement.
See, I did that last week and that exact line and got no response. So I don't know.
Hit or miss, man. It depends on
Yeah, exactly.
case by case.
So if you guys have any other questions, just drop them in the chat. We love answering this kind of stuff. It's interesting. Everybody's different situations, it's like everything is different, but generally I think if you have the basic outline of what you're going to do, you can kind of, and the knowledge, you can kind of be creative and figure out a solution based on every problem. What does email reach out look like? Long emails, short emails? What do you think? I feel like overly wordy is not, I mean, you don't want to write them a book, you don't want It's like when if you get a text message that's a mile long and you're like, I don't got time for this, or whatever, you're like, oh man, right? Like that's the same kind of reaction I think a lot of brands and suppliers have if you write them this crazy salesy email.
Yeah. I try to be as direct as possible, and I would just, I would just like if it's an initial inquiry, just you got a CRM running, it's automatically sending them an email.
Yeah.
Like, just say you're interested in opening a wholesale account and stocking their products. Tell them what the name of your company is, where you're located, because that provides legitimacy, and say that you're interested in stocking their products. That's probably one of the best things you could say in an initial opening email, because it shows commitment right off the bat. Versus a lot of suppliers are going to associate e-commerce with drop shipping, and we are not drop shipping. Drop shipping in principle is you're buying the product from them after you've already sold it on Amazon. But you are stocking the product, whether you're shipping it to Amazon, to your warehouse, to your house, wherever, you're paying them in advance, and that's value right off the rip. So be direct, open a wholesale account. If you're met with resistance, gauge that resistance. And if it's one that you think you could possibly sway one way or another, I'd pursue it and go from there.
Yeah, exactly. I stress this as well all the time is you're going to develop your own style and do things differently. Like Brad and I do things differently. We have the same initial concepts, but we kind of have a different approach sometimes. And so, I use a CRM that will reach out 4 times in a week. So, it'll reach out. If it doesn't get a response, it'll reach out again, and it'll reach out the next day, and it'll reach out the next day. And every email is straight to the point. But like I use a lot of high frequency. I used to do it where it was reaching out once a week, and I've kind of changed and adapted and seen what works. But yeah, that's. I'll just address this other question too while I'm blabbering. Is where will you be selling our products? Say where you're selling. Don't be dishonest, but change the subject and pinpoint on them as quick as possible. So, we'll role play it, right? Like I'll say it to you as if I'm the company, where are you guys planning on selling? Are you e-commerce sellers? You planning on selling on Amazon? What's your response to that?
So we are an e-commerce company. We stock and ship to our facility located in XYZ state. We have our own website. We do sell on Amazon. Do you mind if I ask how your company is handling the e-commerce landscape?
All in the same breath, right? So
I didn't take a breath after the word Amazon because I immediately want to deflect it back to them so that they could open up to me with their issues that they have.
Exactly. That's key. So we want to be honest. We want to get to the point at which we can get the supplier to get over the fact that we're selling on Amazon because we have so much to offer them at that point. So, opinion on handshake deal with suppliers. They sell to you, but no business application, whatsoever needs to be signed. John, can you clarify if you're talking about like an exclusive relationship or if you're talking about just a regular order? Can you clarify that a little bit more? If your exclusive relationships, we're always under contract eventually. We might start out not under contract when we have one SKU, but we're getting under contract as quick as we can with them.
We got to have an agreement in place.
Yeah.
We didn't in the very beginning, like our first exclusive, it's still a handshake, right? But as we've grown, like we have employees and teams, we have to have these contracts in place to, guarantee like the revenue that's coming in our business. Right. So it's like.
Exactly. And you also got to keep in mind that in all likelihood, your legal contract that you wrote up, and I'm saying this kind of at a jab to ourselves as well, because this is what we did at the beginning, like your contract that you wrote up in Microsoft Word is not going to hold up in court if there's an issue. So as you're growing revenue and you are closing these higher ticket accounts, it's important to actually get it done legally and professionally by a lawyer. And so you have some sort of defense if something goes wrong.
And I think that's for the the larger sellers. Like
it's a veteran. Yeah,
you got to be doing at least like multi 7 figures to be in that position.
Right.
Like even if you're doing 7 figures, like, you know, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, whatever in sales per year, get the contract done right. You assess the caliber of the account, the risk that's associated with it, right? Because if you're laying out a large amount of capital, you want, you know, a more tidy contract in place. But if, you know, you're not outlaying that much capital, then maybe, you know, you just put something together. And
Non-exclusive relationships. I mean, we don't. I mean, there's a lot of accounts we have that was no business application. It was like, here's a price list, and we placed an order as a test order, and then we placed a larger order, and that's how it's always been. So
yeah,
I don't think you necessarily need that. There's very few suppliers, like they're out there. We've had it happen to us where they don't send you the product, or they scam you, or, you know, um, whatever it is. So that's pretty much it. Emailing a PO with SKU and quantity, no dealer app outline the policy. Yeah, John, I would say you're good. Honestly, I mean, you know, don't come at me if you get scammed by a supplier, but generally, in most cases, I think you're good.
And the other question there about the Smart Scout thing, this will be reposted on YouTube, so you'll actually have the chance to go back and rewatch what we did. We also have more deep dives on YouTube in past lives that we've done, and other videos that I've done. Like, I mean, I went into such detail about, you know, how we source, what kind of stores we're looking at. So go through the YouTube channel and check, you know, the rest of those videos out, because it's going to cover a lot of the information.
And if you guys are watching on YouTube or Instagram or, you know, one of those platforms, definitely, if you're not following us on Twitter, please check us out on Twitter. We have every couple hours, honestly, new thoughts that keep us up at night about Amazon, FBA, and wholesale. So we actually also today, I mentioned at the beginning of this as well, we posted a 6-page inner thoughts that we were able to get from the people over at Pattern, which they're the largest Amazon seller in the world. And we went to one of their events recently, and over the course of a couple of days, we were able to talk to a lot of people, and we got some of their tips and tricks, and we made a document, and we want to share that with you guys for absolutely free, obviously. And that can be found over on our Twitter. So if you're not following us on there, definitely go check it out at Operation
AMZ. I'm going to post it here as a comment. And
Yep,
one
exactly.
thing, Operation AMZ on Twitter.
Might have to scroll down a little bit.
What's that? You guys?
I said you scroll down a little bit, and if you're, you know, going onto it now, just because been a couple tweets posted since then. But yeah, you can take a look at it, and it's good information.
Yeah, I mean, like I get hyped up about that, because it's like we spent 2 days there, and it was Brandon, myself, and another member of our team. We spent a couple grand to be at the event, and Matt Karuba, Matty K. No, but we spent like a couple grand to be there. And check this out, because like Pattern is a multi-billion-dollar company. We were talking with their, you know, leads, their sales reps, their the logistics guy. I don't remember what his name was, that you spoke with, but they're shipping out 1 million+ units a week at one distribution center. They have 14 distribution centers, 22 global offices, Hong Kong, Dubai, Utah, throughout the U.S.
It's unbelievable.
And the entire business model that they've built, 2 owners that are still the owners, it's not a public company. They're obviously raising multiple funding rounds, but the premise of the business model is, and I'm not going to give too much away here, because you guys got to go to Twitter and drop a comment in their Pattern, and we'll send you, you know, all that information, the whole document for free. But the entire business model is predicated on brand direct wholesale. And they've taken this term Accelerate, which is the name of the event, Accelerate 24. And they've taken this term Accelerate, and they've marketed it and packaged it beautifully to pitch to brands, right? Acceleration is change in velocity over change in time. And that's about as far as I'm going to get, because we have all this in full detail in the outline. So jump over to Twitter, you know, post a comment, and we'll send it to you. But, you know, it's just like, it's mind blowing what can be accomplished in wholesale.
Yeah.
Like
and,
if go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that to responding to Ryan there, he said to know you're posting YouTube videos, new here, much appreciated. Yeah, thanks so much. I mean, we try to put out as much content. I can't take any credit for any of the YouTube stuff because I don't have a long enough attention span to do that. But yeah, the YouTube videos are super valuable that Brad puts out. And if you haven't watched pretty much the entire catalog, I mean, every single piece of information that is in those YouTube videos is really, really beneficial. And if you're getting started or you're an intermediate or even a veteran seller, there's things that can be learned from the videos. So thank you for supporting and, checking us out, and welcome to the Operation AMZ family, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. And I can't get off this pattern thing because it's just mind blowing. But we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna wrap it up here in a second. But if you could do 1% of what Pattern is doing, right? They're doing almost 100 million a month in sales. All you got to do is 1%. You're running an 8-figure per year business, right? And that's where we're looking to go is we're looking to do 8 figures in the next couple of years. And it's like, you don't need to do 1% of that to make a shit ton of money, work with a whole bunch of brands that are profitable. And the beautiful part about this business is that you're building relationships. It's not just a transactional business. You're building relationships with brands, brand owners. You're making people happy, and that's what it's all about.
All right. If we got any last minute questions, we can ask them now. If not, I think that's going to wrap up this week's episode Wholesale Wednesday. And guys, we do this every single week. If we're not going to be live, then we will let you know on all platforms, which again, it's Operation AMZ, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. So if there's no last minute questions, if there are, type them in now. If not, then we are
just throw them on the YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. And you can always reach out to us, DM, whatever it is on any platform, and we'll do our best to get back to you, and answer any questions that you might have. So,
all right. Thanks. Yeah, thanks everyone. Appreciate it.
Guys, thank you. See you next week.